Hi and welcome back to my video diary of self-publishing. I'm Wayne, author of Broken Ceasefire and Xander's Salvation, which is there. Today I'd like to introduce a guy called Lawrence, who I bumped into at Comic-Con, and he self-published his very own comic book, which is The Grey Cells. Link to the book will be in the description, so you can go and check him out. So essentially, I wanted to know what his perspective was as a self-published author, and he agreed to come on board and talk to me about it. The interview is also available on the podcast Sci-Fi Fans. Link in the description below with that one as well. So if you like movie trivia and you like me talking to you, which I hope you do because you're here, you can check out Sci-Fi Fans, the podcast, and find out little bits of trivia about films and movies that you might not be aware of. So there you go, that's that one. Anyway, back to self-publishing and this channel. And yeah, this is the interview that I had with Lawrence a few weeks ago. Enjoy. Okay, welcome to Sci-Fi Fans, Lawrence Goodman. You're a self-published author and comic book author at that. Yeah. And the first book in your series, I believe, is Grey Cells, which I got a copy of, as have you.
As well.
So we met at Comic-Con.
We did.
And I'm really pleased that you agreed to come onto the podcast, because I do self-publishing podcasts and sci-fi stuff myself. So I just really want to connect with people that are like-minded like myself, into science fiction, and also on that self-publishing journey. It's quite a difficult one.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So I've read Grey Cells, and yeah, it's got some really good themes and twists and turns in there. So if you want to explain a little bit more about what got you into doing what you're doing as self-publishing.
Sure.
What got you? Where did you get the idea for the comic from?
Well, I've loved comic books. My first one I ever did was I was about 10 years old and made a little comedy one. So I've always been telling stories, writing stories. It's always been a passion of mine. This one came out of COVID. So when the lockdown happened, I was working a job in London, commuting like an hour and a half each way, and then suddenly I was working from home, so I had a ton of free time, and I decided that I was gonna actually go for something that I wanted to do for ages. I was reading a ton of Stephen King at the time, which probably seeped into my dreams and turned into the inspiration for this. And I was really sort of concerned about some of the stuff that I was seeing with how the things that were going on in the world, and I wanted to write something that was a bit more meaningful than some of the stuff that I was used to writing. And I originally was going to draw it myself as well. I was going to write and draw it, and I'm not a very good comic artist. I'm passable for a picture or two, but trying to keep that going over and actually there's some of my art in the back of the book you've got, which will show you how terrible it is compared to Kay, who's a fantastic artist who's drawn the comic. I met him through Reddit, and he posted his portfolio, and I was looking through, and I saw what some of the previous work that he'd done, and I was like, yes, that's exactly the type of artwork that I want to tell. The story's about a young boy who's abducted in the night, and no one believes that he's been taken. So the schools, the police, social services, they're all convinced that he's just run away, except for the mum, who's quite adamant that he's been taken, but she's not a reliable witness as far as the police are concerned. And it falls on this journalist to find out the sinister, supernatural truth about his abduction. Sorry, I talked a long time. I don't know if I answered any of those questions.
No, that's fine. So do you have like you get this the supernatural. So is that the inspiration from Stephen King? Then that's his influence of your work is.
Yeah. Yeah, I sat down specifically because I wanted to write like a horror, and I was trying to think back to what scared me, especially when I was younger. So it was stuff like losing control of your senses, losing control of your mind, and not being able to sort of tell truth from fiction in reality. That was always a terrifying thing. And then the news really was hitting that hard at the time. You know, there was these two separate camps of people living in completely alternate worlds at the same time. And I thought, oh yeah, this is quite timely. Let's see if I can write something out of that. So I came up with this villain, the Frogman, who's going around and twisting reality to suit his nasty desires.
I get the impression that there's like a bigger entity behind the Frogman in this comic. Is that something that is going to be explored in future episodes?
Yeah, we're working hard at a sequel at the minute. Kay's drawing away. I'm writing out each of the sort of issues for it, and yeah, you get to see a bit more about the network behind that was supporting him. So he's dealt with in the book, but there's echoes of what was going on survive over to the sequel. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it kind of gave me a little bit of hint of Stranger Things, I think, with the story, the narration that you've got with this comic. So, have you seen Stranger Things?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's again. I always when the first Stranger Things came out a few years ago, I stumbled upon it and I was like, oh, I'll give this a go, and I just watched it straight through the night in one sitting.
Yeah,
and I was a big evangelist of it early on, because I was like, it's like if Steven Spielberg directed a Stephen King novel, and it's which were two big influences in my childhood. So we're drawing from the same well, as it were.
Right, which is good. I mean, I like how the when you have that other reality, the colouring is different as well. Yeah. So it's visually letting the reader know that you're in this kind of strange dream world, and I love how it all kind of comes together. Now, I didn't realise it was effectively like an omnibus of what would have been 6 individual comics. So is it just the one book split into 6 chapters, or are there 6 like little magazines that you can collect?
So not printed, we released the digital versions one at a time,
right?
And I'd written them so that they would work episodically. So it's like 6 episodes of a single season.
Right.
The colours were another. That's Corey Ranson. He's a very good colourist. He came on late into the project when we originally did it as a black and white, and Kay was like, try it in colour, see if you like it. And so went on Reddit and found Corey. And he, just blew us away with the extra dimension that he added to it. Like some of the powers and stuff, they're beautiful in black and white, but completely enhanced in colour. Yeah.
And I noticed what struck me is like some of the American terminology you've got in there. Like instead of mum, it's mom.
Yeah.
Is that intentional to appeal to the American market? Because you're the English or British.
yeah, very much. It was written as an American story, so it was an American city I had in my head. Yeah. And then our letterer was Nikki Powers, and she is American and kept me honest with the stuff. So I was like, hey, I've written some stuff. I think this is right. But if I say anything that just completely, like if I start mentioning kettles and tea, just call me out. And just be like, no, maybe we swap that for this. She was good at proofreading to make sure it was American. But you know, we're brought up on American TV, so it wasn't a difficult voice to slip into.
Yeah. So, how long have you had this idea on this world? Was it purely once COVID struck?
Yeah, it was literally. This is the completely engineered from just a desire to write a horror story. So I have I've written some stuff that I've never gone anywhere with, and because I'm a big fan of like detective fiction, so I have some sort of detective stories that I want to tell at some point. And there's a bit of that bleeds into this, so it's a journalist trying to find out what's happened. So this was the first time I was like, right, you've got time, you've got energy, let's start from scratch and do something really good, and pick all the stuff that you like and all the stuff that like this is going to be the best thing you've written so far. Do it right from the start, and that was. So it completely engineered from scratch about just under 2 years ago. So it was, 2020. So it was, and it took about 18 months to get it drawn, printed, bound, and out, so I could start selling it. It's a long process. Writing a book's much quicker.
But they can be. But editing, rewrites. So. I mean, it took me nearly 20 odd years to get my first book done. So,
it's knowing when to stop. Sometimes it's like you keep going back over the same bit. Having a schedule that I had to deliver to, where Kay was like, I'd write, so it'd be episode 1, issue 1. And then I go, whew, I've got a bit of time now. I can come. And then he's starting to send through pencils, and I'm like, I'm running out of time. I better get issue 2 over to him. And so it's like quick. Yeah. And then and what was happening was I would send. So I had an idea how I wanted it to look. And I sent over the first one, like the sketches that I'd started doing. And I was quite prescriptive about how it was going. And then he would send back artwork, which was what I'd written, but different.
Yeah.
And it would change what the way the story was evolving. So I reacted to his artwork, and although I'm on there as a writer, we wrote it together, and it's as much him as it is me, which is it's nice. It's like he would draw a face, and I'd go, oh, I don't think they would say that anymore. I feel like that person has a bit more attitude to them, or that person is a little kinder than I had intended. So I'm like, all right, I'll rework the dialogue and make it fit, and then I'll go in a different way with it. Yeah.
Is that something that surprised you with the writing process of comics? Yeah.
So I am naturally like I tended to try, when I first was trying to write, I was a bit more of like a discovery writer, so more like a George R.R. Martin, Stephen King style, where you start writing and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
And that's great for having a really good beginning, but you don't get good endings, and you can't always finish, and so you end up with a desk full of abandoned projects where you start and you're like, you've got these really interesting worlds where you've got nowhere to go with them. And this was one that I wrote from the ending backwards.
All right.
So it was, I found it a much more satisfying ending. And I was really strict with myself with I wrote down all the themes that I wanted to try and touch. And a lot of it couldn't make it into the book because there's some stuff I had which was just really bogging down the beginning, so I had to axe it, and it ended up coming back in like the dream sequence, the stuff that comes later, because I didn't really want to throw it away because I spent so much time on
it. So how many books are there going to be in the series?
So I've got 3 that are planned, and then I've got like a short story that sorts of fits in it as well. That's where I think I think it will settle, and then it might have like expanded universe stuff if I want to keep visiting to it. But 3, I think, is about right. Although it's turning into one of those. Each one I want to be like as a standalone.
Yeah.
So it will tell. It will show you a bit more of the world, but if you only ever read one of them, then you wouldn't need to pick up another one and to know what's happening.
That's good.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that Marvel gets a little bit stuck with, because they'll have. So I was thinking about this the other day with the Marvel Universe. They've done what they did with the comic books. So you might have Spider-Man, Green Goblin in something like Iron Man episode 34, but then so it's very similar to what they've done with the MCU, but then obviously they've done took that from the comics. So it's nice to hear that we're not going to have that previous history or find out what happened to the Frogman in book 3 from the second series in.
Yeah, because when you try and collect those, the same thing happened to the comics, like you say, where you had a storyline. You had to almost be a detective trying to find each thread of it through all the different books. You're like, oh, this is a subplot in issue 7, and it's this person's thing. It gets so conflict, like the latest, the Doctor Strange, which I liked. I thought it was a good film, but if I hadn't have watched WandaVision, I'd have had no idea what's going on. Like the last time I saw either of those characters, there's so much has changed to them in the middle of it that I'm sort of getting a bit exhausted with the Marvel stuff, because it's a full-time job just trying to keep the content, keep straight with it. Yeah.
So just talk me through a little bit more of the process. So you once you've got the book, your comic in colour and the story's done, then how long does it actually take you to take it from that concept into an actual something that I can feel in my hands and for you to sell?
Yeah, so the end-to-end process was first I was trying, and then got Kay on. So Kay can do about a book, like an issue which is 20 something pages about every 2 months. So drawing completely was a year process. Lettering didn't take as long. That was quite a quick bit.
Right.
The colouring was almost similar timeline, but it was staggered. So I could do. I think we were about an issue and a half in before I got Corey on board, and then it was going about the same sort of pace. He'd do about an issue every 2 months. But then he got COVID, I got COVID. It all ground to a halt. The whole world supply chain disappeared, and we couldn't get paper, and there was everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. We did a Kickstarter in November, and I to raise funds to get it printed and get it distributed, and which went well. So thank you to everybody who backed that. But we got to so my intention was to deliver it in February, but we got delayed with finishing it. So we finished it about February, and then I couldn't get hold of paper. I couldn't get a printer that would get it done. Managed to get it finally, and we printed in about like right at the end of April, start of May. So it was 18 months total. And I could have done it in a year, but now I know to say 18 months and rush it.
So you mentioned Kickstarter, because that's used for an awful lot of projects, and I've backed some myself. How did that go, and what gave you the inspiration to do Kickstarter?
So there's the good thing about Kickstarter is it's got sort of like a built-in audience that you can tap into, but in order to tap into it, you have to have an audience already. So to get going with it, we had to start marketing it sort of 3 or 4 months before even the Kickstarter started. So we were doing like social media stuff, trying to get like spread the word. We were reaching out to like YouTubers and getting magazine reviews, sending out samples to try and get a bit of momentum, get people to come on board. I was giving away issue 1, so like to say, hey, read issue 1. If you like it, then the Kickstarter's this thing. So really, it was a full-time job, sort of just getting the marketing momentum going, leading into the first day of the Kickstarter, and then I probably annoyed the hell out of everybody who's ever signed up to issue 1 by like, hey, what about today? What about today? What about today? And then work the whole. I did a shorter one, so you can do like a month or 2 months or whatever. And I just went for I can't remember if it was 30 days. I think it was 30 days I did.
Right.
And I don't know whether it would have been better to do a longer one or to do the shorter one, because the shorter one I had like the urgency of you have to make a decision.
Yeah.
It's this like right now or it's going to go.
Yeah.
But it was a stressful month because we started all right, and then it sort of plateaued, and then I was like, let it go for a couple of days, and then I was really ramped right up at the end again, and I didn't think we were gonna make it until we ended up about two grand over on the last day or the last 2 days. And then I could relax, and I just sort of breathe in, and I was like, okay, I don't know if I ever want to do that again.
So would you recommend Kickstarter to somebody like a self-publishing author and self-published comic book author? Would you recommend that an avenue?
I would do. I'd say if I were to do it now again, I would team up with a few people. So I would do. I'd reach out to some other people who were about to launch at a similar time, and try and do some like cross promotion stuff between the 3 of them, so that we can almost act like a mini publisher. So the likes of when Image have a launch on Kickstarter and they can raise 100 grand, it's because they've got a whole engine behind them that they can build off of each other's past successes and past campaigns. And now I've got a little bit of an audience for this. Hopefully the next round won't be so hard, but that first one was really tough to do it alone. So if I were to do it again, I'd recommend sort of reaching out to other people that look like they're about to start and build off each other. So even if you stagger it, that my campaign ends, I could say, hey, if you like Grey Cells, check out Wayne's book over. He's literally just about to launch a Kickstarter. See if you like it, and then and then you're not. You're building off. You're standing on each other's shoulders, and
because I think what I've really appreciated within the self-publishing is the community.
Yeah,
I haven't come across anybody in the self-publishing community. It's like, well, if I help you out, I'm giving away my audience to you. People aren't precious about that, because we all understand that it's about helping each other, as you say, standing on each other's shoulders to bring the community together and just publicize our own work and other people's. So what other promotion and how do you publicize your comic book, Lawrence, and get it out?
I found first I didn't know what I was doing, where I was going. So I started with like some YouTubers that had like comic reviews and comic podcasts, and I reached out to all the sort of magazine sites, that like Comic Book News. There's a really great guy who's actually drawn into a page of it. Hang on, is Al Mega, who was the first guy who sort of answered me, and he's got a really interesting podcast. Where is it? If I find it, He's he was a lovely guy, really supportive. Introduced us to a few other people, and there he is. So that's our mate.
All right, that's cool.
So yeah, he was the first person that sort of picked us up and ran with us. Introduced us to a few other people. We were on Facebook a lot. Instagram really helped because it's quite a visual medium. Those ones. Reddit was where we were born, so that was a really supportive community. They've got. You've got to be careful to pace yourself as well, because you can overwhelm some of these subreddits or some of these keywords and stuff if you're trying to do some multiple times a day. So it was good to rotate round, which I didn't realise at first, and then learn later. And the YouTube really worked as well. There's a lovely guy who did Fact Fiend, whose name is Carl Smallwood, and he does it's Fact Fiend, so he tells interesting stories about stuff. We reached out to him for see if he'd be interested in letting us sponsor a channel. He was so supportive, and really. He ended up promoting us on more videos than we'd asked for, which was lovely. And he had a really keyed in audience, which gave us a massive boost. It was a sudden surge where we were doing a trickle of 4 or 5 a day, and then suddenly he came on. It was like 100, and we were, whoa!
That's really good. So when do you think the sequel will be out?
So it will be good question. It'll probably be about 16 months from now.
Right.
So 2024.
Right. But wait that long.
Yeah. But I might have a filler short story come out this year, depending on if depending on whether I can get Kay, or whether or whether I want to try it myself. I'm not going to do it myself. I don't know why I'm saying that. I'll start it and then quickly hand the reins back over. But I've got a short story one, which it's only about 10 pages, but that might be one that we give out as like a freebie, just to plug the gap between the two, so that we can have like keep some audience interest before the main.
So where can people find out more about you, Lawrence?
So we've got our site, which is inked-dreams.com, and
link will be in the description, by the way.
There's stuff on there, which there's some articles that we've written about sort of how we make comics. There's a lot of inside the book stuff, so there's all extra info on like what inspired us, some of the artworks. So like the Frogman's based on Voginoi, which is like a Slavic myth of a frog creature that drowns people. So there's information about that. There's some of the like mystic eye stuff that Kay drew from a holiday in Turkey for the evil eye, or the Eye of Horus. So that there's all supplementary information about that, how the powers work. And, and you can get the books on there as well. So issue 1's I've still got free on the website if you wanted to just taste it. Or there's the full book on there, and we're doing physical and digital. Or you can get us on Comixology, or all your standard fare.
Well, we met at Comic-Con, and you say that was your first one as a trader, I suppose. So, and you found that. And what was your experience of Comic-Con?
So it was completely different to going as a fan. So my friend asked me, like, how was Comic-Con afterwards? And I was like, I've no idea. I got there, I had a suitcase full of books. I walked around, I talked to anyone who would listen to me, and some were very nice and decided to listen. And You were actually my first customer of the day.
Right.
By the end of it was very hot day. It was in London Olympia, so glass ceilings. Apparently there was air conditioning. I don't believe him. I was I was sweating. I'd worn, I was wandering around. I talked to almost everyone in that building. I didn't see anything other than like, oh, I might talk. I haven't spoken to them yet. And then at the end of the day, I was just shattered. I didn't stop from the moment I got there till people started leaving, and then I went and got some food and a drink. It was awesome, but completely different experience. Apparently there were talks, and there were stalls, and there was collectibles. And how was Comic-Con for you? Like, what did I miss?
It was good. I mean, I got to meet a couple of people. So did my little girl, because I was there with my family, and it was hot. And I agree with you. If there was air conditioning, where was it? It's definitely missing.
I did manage to pick up a couple of books. I tell a lie. I got one which is about a private detective who happens to be the moon.
All right.
Like the actual moon. Yeah. And the man who sold it to me, completely crazy, and I was just drawn in. Couldn't take myself away. And I was like, yes, I need to buy all 6 issues of this. Thank you very much. Off I go. And another one was Die Hard with Zombies.
All right.
Which again, so it's two. I guess I was tired of the horror and thought, oh, some comedy that might drag me out of that.
Have you got any plans to go to any more conventions and things?
Yeah, I do. I'm thinking to do. I am. I'm gonna try and do the next one more seriously. So this one I was a little bit of a taster because I didn't know if I would sell enough books to make it worthwhile doing. But a lot of people were like asking, where's your booth? Where's your and I was thinking, I missed a trick there. I decided on a whim, like the day before, that I was going to go. So this next one I'm going to put some more planning into, and I'm going to try and team up with a few people that we can have a few books on there. If you don't like grey cells, then you can try something else. I'm going to reach out to some people on online and see if they want to team up.
I mean, it would make sense because I'd done my local Comic-Con a couple of weeks ago, and dragged the family along to that one.
Yeah.
But it was great because then if I needed to go to the loo or if I wanted to have a walk around, then I had someone watching the table, which is good. And I signed a couple of copies of my book as well, so if there was any sales, people, I mean, my wife could sell snow to the Eskimo. She's that good.
So what's your pitch? Tell me your pitch when you do it.
Well, I just had everything. The pitch is basically people are asking me about the story, and the story is humanity's moved on from Earth because it's been destroyed from an asteroid. We've set up new colonies, and while setting up the colonies, we've come across an alien race which is intent on wiping us out. There's also another alien species in the mix, which has the ability and the power to either help or hinder us with our struggles against the Archons, who are the alien race. So.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, good job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was that day was a really good sort of focusing in on like the elevator pitch because I had like 10 seconds to get people's attention and try and keep it.
Yeah.
And, I was tapping into sales skills I didn't know that I had.
What's the most difficult part of being self-published that you find?
It's fun in the audience. Like when we everyone who's read it's always said nice things back and said they really enjoyed it. Friends of mine have been like, oh, it's good, as though like I wasn't expecting it to be good. but yeah, just trying to get it in front of people. There's so much content out there, and so many different voices trying to compete for your attention, that just getting someone to give even a free issue a chance is tough. Because even on the day, it was I got as many no's as I did yeses.
Yeah.
More so, yeah. It's like, I bet you'd like it if you.
Yeah. Or people just say, yeah, I'll come back later, or I'll have a look with it online.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then. Well, thank you very much. But just sell us your book.
Yeah, sure. So it's a bit like if Stephen King had written True Detective. So a boy goes missing in the night, and no one believes he's been taken. A journalist on her first big story is tasked with finding out the truth of what happens. As she delves in, she comes up with a lot of crime, corruption, and the supernatural menace, the Frogman, who's taking children for nefarious reasons. He has the power to manipulate reality. There's a lot of sort of supernatural mental powers, so very Stephen King-esque. And it's a satisfying story. It has a beginning, middle, and end, so you don't have to wait for the sequel to find out what happens. It's got a satisfying ending right there, and it's available right away. So you don't have to wait for me to print it or do a Kickstarter. You can download it immedially and read if you want to. It's a good. The art is incredible. I'll show you a couple of pages, but yeah, the art's really. I don't know if you'll see on here, but yeah, the art's really good. It's fantastic. Give it a go.
Thank you for joining me on Sci-Fi Fans.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was really lovely to be invited. Thank you.
No problem.